Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna. I've been the Vice President of Education here for the past year or so. Before that, I taught high school science for 6 years, and then I moved here in 2018 to be an educator, and then moved up to management. I'm very excited to be here to talk about our camp program. So, skip the slide. A little bit of history about our camp. We started in 1985 with one camp called Future Astronaut Training Program, which was lovingly referred to as FATP. We kept that name up until 2011. We added more and more camp types, and then we changed our name to Camp Chaos. Kansas Adventures in Outer Space. That went for a little while, and then in 2020, we decided to revamp our camp program once again, and it is the program that we see today. So we took a lot of elements of the past and updated it, and so um, right now we have two different camp types. We have our what we call our day camp program. Our camp start for kids that are entering into the third grade, so they just finished second grade. That's before. And we start with half day camps, and then once you get to Alien Adventure, you go into a full day camp, and then with Starship Earth, they get the first overnight. So they actually get to stay the night in the Cosmosphere while they're here, and then after that, they go into our overnight program. All right, so let's go ahead and learn a little bit about each camp type, and then I'm going to give you some examples of the type of stuff that we do here. I cannot these days, though, so I'm going to take this off. It's not in my nature. Okay. So we start in the third grade with solar system, 5 day half days, and they go through and they do activities, one per planet, as you can see here. This is probably one of the favorites. They take water balloons, different sizes and whatnot, and they throw them, and then they measure the craters they make. And it illustrates how craters are made on things like the Mercury. Mercury has a lot of craters. This is another very popular activity. This is to illustrate the atmosphere of Venus. Venus's atmosphere is very, very thick. So what they do is they throw a ton of blankets on a camper, and then they take the temperature before and after. And as you can imagine, if you have a ton of blankets on you, it gets very, very, very hot. And even though Venus is the second planet from the sun, it's the hottest one in our solar system. So it's a very simple, very fun way to illustrate that. And then we have a video to illustrate here for one of the activities that we do. This is for me. So for Saturn, we go over density, and density is a really hard topic for kids to understand because it's not just how heavy something is. Things that are very heavy may have very low density. Ships, very big ships, they float on the water, have a density less than 1. That's what water's density is. So go ahead, and this is astronaut form.
Hey everybody, I'm former NASA astronaut Don Thomas. A lot of my time as an astronaut was conducting experiments in space. And when you perform science, a big part of your job is observing. The great thing about science is that there are many different ways to observe. Our sight is an obvious one, but we can also use tools like a scale or a ruler. The more unique ways we can observe an object, the better we can understand it. Today we're going to play a game called Will It Float? A game about how you can't always trust your eyes when it comes to observing the properties of materials, especially when it comes to buoyancy.
Kids would run to like the right side of the room if they think it's gonna float. Run to the left side of the room.
Will it float?
If you think it's gonna sink.
Will it float? Will it float? We got a stick of butter. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, raise your hand if you think the stick of butter is gonna float. Okay, let's see.
It floats. Hey, everybody, we're back with another edition of Will It Float? This time, I've got a golf ball. Will it float?
Out there with a golf
3,
ball.
2, 1.
Raise your hand if you think it floats.
It sinks. Hey, everybody, we're back again with another edition of Will It Float? This time, I've got a styrofoam ball. So what do you think?
Hey,
Will it float?
will it float?
Let's check it out. 3, 2, 1. It floats. Will it float? This time I've got a can of Coca-Cola. So what do you think? Will it float? 3, 2, 1.
Hey, raise your hand if you think it's going to float.
It sinks. This time I've got a can of Diet Coke. So what do you think? Will it float? 3, 2, 1. Release. Hey, it floats. Hey, space fans, are you ready for more Will It Float? Let's get to it. I've got an apple in my hand here. So what do you think? Will an apple float? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, Bob.
Hey, it floats.
Yep.
Hey, we're back with another edition of Will It Float? This time I have a red potato. Very small potato, but let's check it out. Will it float? Let's see. 3, 2, 1, release. It sinks. I ran out of regular objects, but I was able to take the cell phone from our cameraman. Shall we see whether it floats? Here we go. It doesn't float. Sorry, cameraman.
All right, so that's one of our activities for our kids. You guys did an awesome job predicting if it will float or not. As you can imagine, it's pure pandemonium as they're running from side to side, but it's a lot of fun for the campers, and it teaches them about density. All right, after solar system, they go into lunar base. Lunar base is still a half-day program. And during this, instead of learning about the planets, they're specifically learning about our moon, past, present, and future missions, along with characteristics of the moon. So in this one, they get to launch some water rockets. They do a fun gravity where they have to balance a bunch of nails. This is balanced on one nail, and they have to figure out how to do that. But for this one, I have bought our glove suit relay, or space glove suit relay. So when astronauts are doing a spacewalk, they have to wear very thick gloves, and they have to do things that require a lot of dexterity. And so we have a former educator who worked at Kennedy, and he said you could always tell when an astronaut was about to go on a spacewalk because they would be doing hand strengthening exercises. Okay. And this might be, I think this might be a little bit lighter than what is normal. Here, you want to give that a pull and pass it around. Everybody just give that a pull. That's probably easier than what they actually have to do in outer space. They have to be able to do that to move their fingers. They have to have a lot of hand strength. So what we do is we stick the campers into some thick gloves. The older the people, when we do it with adults, we stick them in about 5 layers of gloves. But with kids, we'll do 2. And then they are racing against each other, and they have to put together a puzzle. Okay, that seems pretty easy. Okay. They have to use chopsticks to move lifesavers from one bowl to another. And then when we have the adults, we have them button a shirt, which seems like it would be very easy to do. But with adults, it takes probably at least a minute for them to get one thing buttoned on here, and it's not even usually in the right place. So that one's a lot of fun with the campers. Yep, yep, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a lot. The big red spot on Jupiter, that's a giant storm that's happening. So for that, it's a little fun craft activity. They get to make little red swirls out of shaving cream on their desk. And they get to make Jupiter storms, and they also learn about what causes storms, the storms on Jupiter, and all of that stuff. All right, Alien Adventure. This is an astrobiology, and it takes a serious look of what it would mean if there was alien life out there. Not only do they learn, like what it means to live on another planet, they look at different cultures. What would an alien culture look like if we met intelligent beings? So they learn different dances, different games, different ways to say hello and goodbye in different languages. They also had the chance to eat bugs if they wanted to. It's one thing that is being seriously looked at if we go to Mars is having bugs as a protein source. Okay. They're very small, they're very easy to keep alive, and they're very, very nutritious. So this is a picture of two of the campers trying some crickets. And then we have some mice. One of them is trained to go through this maze very, very fast. And then the campers race the mice and see if they can go through the maze. Spoiler alert, they are not as fast as the mice. And we talk about the ethics of using animals in science and space flight as well. All right. So for Alien Adventure, there's this neat science called spectroscopy. James Webb has been doing a lot of looking at exoplanets. Exoplanets are planets that are outside of our solar system. It's been doing a lot of work of finding them, and then scientists, once we find an exoplanet, can look in its atmosphere and see what is composed of. So when you hear about these exoplanets that may support life, the number one thing we're looking for is, does it have liquid water? Because that is the number one all life needs. Sorry. And one of the ways they can determine what is in the atmosphere is through spectroscopy. Oops, wrong box. Find a really good one for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this tube has an element in it. Okay, it's gaseous, you cannot see it. I'm going to stick it in here. We're going to run electricity through it. Okay, and then there's this special paper. Okay, it may be a little hard to see with the lights on, but based on what is in this tube here, it breaks apart into different colors of light. Okay, so turn off the light. So I think I'm seeing some blues and some greens and some oranges. A red, yep. Is there any other colors we could see? Dark green. All right. And then based on what those colors are, that tells us what element that is. So what color pattern they break up in, that tells us what element this was. And I do believe this was mercury, which is not very good for life. And then the kids, they look at it, they have a key, they determine what element it is, and then they decide, could that exoplanet support life? and it simulates what real astronomers do in their day to day. Maybe later. I have a lot of stuff to get through, so I want to make sure I have time for everything. All right. After that is Starship Earth. Starship Earth is where they go for 4 days, and then on the last day they stay the night. They are looking at what it would take to live somewhere other than Earth. It could be in space, like we're doing now on the space station. It could be on the moon. It could be on Mars. Just anywhere that is not Earth. In this picture right here, they are trying to steal our moon rocks and not get caught by the various radiation sensors or IR sensors that detect body heat. So that is what she's doing. She's trying to steal our moon rocks without being detected. And then in this one, they take a field trip to Stratica, to the salt mines, and we talk about that being an enclosed environment. All right, for this one, they do a battery build is one of their activities. So this is actually simulated after one of the world's first batteries by Volta. So we have our case here. One of the things that I think is really important is that they can see inside the battery, and they can understand when we say like a cell, a battery cell, and they stick some wire in here on the bottom, and then they stick in a zinc washer. They stick in felt. And they put an electrolyte on this, so you can use things like lemon juice, vinegar, citric acid, or Gatorade actually works really well as well. And then they follow that up with a penny on top, and they repeat that. Okay. And then this zinc felt penny combo is one cell. And so they repeat that until they get to the top. And then they stick another copper wire on top. And then we have these really neat things here to test the batteries. So this first thing right here, this is a voltmeter. So it tells how many volts the battery outputs. This is a light, so they stick it on here, and then this will light up. And then this is a very, very annoying alarm. I'm not sure that there aren't any non-annoying ones out there. Otherwise, I'm very concerned about the person who picked this, because it's a lot of fun to listen to. And you can imagine with there's 30 of them going at once, how much fun that is. And then they get to take this home, and they have a little LED light in the bag as well that they can use to light up. So that they learn about energy, they learn about how the battery works, and they learn a little bit about the history of the battery. Oh, that's okay. I'll get it later. Thank you, though. All right, so that is it for our day camps. After Starship Earth, they are ready to stay with us overnight. We work with the HCC, and the kids stay in their dorms for 5 nights, and then are here during the day. And we have 5 different levels. And then on their last level, they travel to Colorado and go and see a lot of stuff up there. United Launch Alliance, ULA is up there. Sierra Space is up there, along with some other cool things. So there's a few key things in every overnight that we do. Every camp will run a mission. So we have a capsule simulator that is based on the Orion capsule, and the rocket launch simulates the SLS, the current rocket that is planning to take our astronauts back to the moon. So in here, you can see we have teams of 5 in our capsule, and they run a mission. And then we also put people in our simulated mission control Our mission control has real panels from Houston from back when they sent people to the moon, which is really, really cool. And then we also have a third location for a lot of campers that is versatile. It's either the ISS or like Gateway, it's around the moon, or it's a base on the moon or Mars. All campers also go through our astronaut training sims. We have a multi-axis trainer. So this camper is being spun in all directions. That's a lot of fun. This is from our Soyuz trainer. So before SpaceX took our astronauts to the ISS, all astronauts went up in a Soyuz, which is a Russian rocket and capsule. And so back in the day, SpaceX actually built this, or not SpaceX, our company SpaceWorks built this capsule for NASA to train astronauts. And then NASA used it all these years. And then they didn't need it anymore, so they asked if we'd like it back. And we said, yeah, absolutely. So now we use this to help train the campers. And everything's in Russian. It's a Russian capsule, so they learn a little bit about the Russian language as well. When Nick Hague, he's a Kansas astronaut, he went up into space, and they had an emergency and had to come back down. He was in a Soyuz. He was with a Russian astronaut. He was having to read and speak Russian while going through that emergency. Not every astronaut can do that, but Nick Hague could, which is just phenomenal. They also do VR. We use the MetaQuest VR system. It's a lot of fun to watch campers as they are looking at things that you can't see. And it's a fun time trying not to get hit by one of them as you're walking through the classroom because they're like flailing all over the place. But everybody does that. One of our educators, he is working with K-State, and we are creating our own virtual reality experience. So when you are doing a spacewalk, you have a backpack that is supposed to help you if you become detached from the space station. So in the VR experience, you become detached and you have to use your safer backpack to get back to the space station. And that's going to be a Cosmosphere K-State joint venture, and it's going to be available to purchase through the store, just like any other VR game. So that's going to be really cool. And then the kids all get their photos taken as if they are an astronaut. And they get to keep these when they go home. All right, so you start with Mars Academy. This is if you're entering into the 7th grade. So that's our first overnight camp, entering into the 7th grade. For their mission, they run a low Earth orbit. So they just go up, orbit the Earth, and then come back. Their focus is on a settlement mission. So they compete. They pretend they go to Mars, and there are different colonies, and they compete to see who can have the best colony. And they earn food, water, research science or medicine and science, and then energy as well. And whoever has the most of all of those things at the end wins. They have doctors. So it looks like this camper has received an emergency card. She's become sick, and the campers are treating her illness. We also do mini games. This is a game where you put an Oreo on a kid's head and they have to try to get it to their mouth. It's a lot of fun to watch. And then this is, they build their habitat. So that is the camp inside of their habitat. All right. One of the big challenges of going to Mars is going to be radiation. Okay, we're protected here on Earth due to our magnetosphere, but if you venture far beyond that, like you do for Mars, astronauts are going to be exposed to a bunch of radiation. And so they have a radiation challenge to build the best radiation-proof box that they can. Now, this is something very simple. We're exposed to radiation every day. This is a UV light, okay? It is purple, and these right here, these are radiation beads. They're you can actually get these off of Amazon pretty cheap. And when they are exposed to UV light, they change colors. And so they are a cheap detection device to see how much radiation you're being exposed to when you go outside. And you could do things like put sunscreen on them and test how well those things work, and stuff like that as well. All right, after Mars Academy, we have Moonshot. Okay. Moonshot, they run just like Apollo 8 went around the moon and came back. That is the mission they run. The next Artemis mission they're going to do is going to be that as well. They're going to go around the moon. They're going to come back. I know we are a space science facility, but that is not everything that we do at camp. You'll notice that I have these careers on here as well. These are part of the NGSS, the state standards. They have career clusters. And so also Moonshot, we focus on arts, AV tech, and communications, education and training, IT, and STEM. And so our goal is to expose kids to as many different things as possible. We get a lot of engineers that come out of our camp program, and that is awesome. But not everybody's meant to be an engineer. And there are so many more people who work for NASA or SpaceX or Blue Origin that aren't engineers, and they're just as important to the mission as well. So we do activities that that cover these careers as well. In fact, one of the kids wrote a review from this past summer and said, hey, I was going to be an engineer. That's what I wanted to do. They were in Moonshot. And they went, but I did this activity. They did an activity where they learned about PR. And then they interviewed their fellow mission teams about their mission. And then we live streamed that to the parents. And they said, once they did that, that's now what I want to do. I was exposed to it, never knew I wanted to do it before, but now that's what I want to do. So that is our goal with our with our camp program. In Moonshot, we have two focuses. They do a bunch of rocket launches, and they also do a lot with robotics as well. And during this, we do a communication challenge. We have Apollo 13. It's our prize artifact. And during this, they recreate the square peg, round hole carbon dioxide problem. So they are divided up. They have all of the necessary things to build this. One person's in mission control, and one person or two or three people are the astronauts. And then they have to build this by they have to follow the instructions they're given for mission control. They cannot see mission control. They can't see, like, you can't mime anything to them because they couldn't see that on Apollo 13. It's just verbal instructions. And they have 10 minutes to do this. Okay? I think one of my educators said it's about a 70% fail rate. So they don't do a very good job, but it's just a good way to work on your communication skills, and it's still a lot of fun. It gives a whole, I think it gives a whole new meaning to what those astronauts went through, and yeah. After that, we have Astrolab. Astrolab focuses on the space station, so they dock with the ISS during their mission. The careers they focus on are business management, health science, human services, and marketing. We do a marketing thing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? But we base an activity on that, and they get these weird things, and they have to decide what it's for, and they have to create a marketing video for it. They have to try to sell that product. It's one of campers' favorite activities. They also do scuba diving when astronauts are doing training. If they have to do a spacewalk, they train in a pool because you can achieve neutral buoyancy, which is like being in space. The only difference is if you drop a tool in the pool, it's going to fall. Or if you push off something, you'll eventually stop because of the friction in the pool. And they also launch a high altitude balloon. So for that, For our high altitude balloon, I have our vacuum chamber. So this pump is going to remove all of the air from this box. Okay, it'd be like going into space. Space is a vacuum. But as the balloon goes through the atmosphere, there is less and less and less of it, and we get less and less pressure. And so we can see what's going to happen to that balloon. So we can see what's going to happen to that balloon as the pressure decreases. Well, actually, I swear I tested all of this before I came here, guys. Okay. Hey, it works if you actually plug it in. All right. So I've now shut this off. There's no air can get on the inside. So now this is sucking all of the air out of this box. And what is happening to the balloon? It's getting bigger. And if I would let this keep going, it would eventually get so big that it would pop. Okay. But it's a really pain to clean up all the little pop bits. So I'm not going to let it do that. So that's what happens with the high altitude balloon. It goes and goes and goes. It gets so big until it pops and it falls back down to earth. The campers, they put on different experiments on it to test what happens as exposed to different pressures, different temperatures, and different radiation levels. And then as I let the air back in, whoop, the balloon gets smaller. All right. Then we have Lunar Trek. This is basically our flight camp. They get to go up into airplanes and do a discovery flight. So they actually get to fly the plane. We always have one or two campers that come out of this camp who are now taking flying lessons, which is really cool to hear. We also do a bunch of drones in this camp as well. And for their mission, they do a lunar landing. And we focus on things like architecture, construction, finance, hospitality, and tourism. For that one, they get to design a party before their mission, and we let them get a little bit more fancy with their food, which means they always order Olive Garden for that. That's what they consider to be fancy. Once we had Buffalo Wild Wings, but mostly it's usually Olive Garden, and then transportation as well. I just realized I did not bring my flight demonstrations down with me. Whoops. Sorry about that. And then we have Martian base. So this is our last overnight camp here. On this one, they do a Mars landing in their simulator. They work on agriculture, food, natural resources, government and public administration, law, public safety, and manufacturing. And they also run a settlement mission. It's a little more complex than the Mars Academy one. In fact, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a Declaration of Independence they have written to separate themselves from the Earth. And it says, hey, Earth, so this whole relation thing isn't working. We feel like this is holding both of us back. This level of codependency isn't healthy. I know breakups are hard, but let's still be friends. Let's keep trade and immigration policies open. It's not me, it's you. And I think we should see other plans. So that is their Declaration of Independence. They can do all sorts of other things. They get to create their own government. They get to decide if they keep their borders open or closed. They trade. They do all sorts of stuff in there. During this one, for long duration space flights, they power things by using an RTG. So when we sent the Voyager probe out in the 70s, it's powered by an RTG. It's still going to this day. RTGs create electricity by heating one side, making it really, really hot, and then making the other side really, really cold. So right here, this is what is known as a Peltier device. and then this on the other side is a heat seat. And all this does is this distributes, this helps the heat go away. So you make this side really, really, really hot. And in spacecraft, they do that by using radioactive materials. So they put in like plutonium in here. All that does is make things really, really, really hot on the inside. I think when in The Martian, when Mark Watney goes and pulls out one of the devices, that is an RTG. Then we make this side really, really cold. Well, this side is space in the Voyager. And then the bigger the temperature difference, the more electricity is produced. The opposite is actually true as well. If you pass electricity through one of these, you can make one side really cold and one side really hot, and that's how your refrigerators work. So they pass electricity through a Peltier, and then you get cold food. We don't use plutonium, but we use hand warmers. So they design a device to produce the most electricity possible using the RTGs. This year we are doing something a little different. We are having 2 astronaut camps that are visiting almost in every camp. Former astronaut Don Thomas, he's the one who made that Will It Float video. He'll be here for our June camps. And then John Harrington, he was the first Native American in space. He will be here for our July camp. And so while they are here, the campers will be able to do an activity with them. They will get a picture with them, and they will also get their autographs. And they'll be able to interact and ask questions with the astronauts. So we're really excited that that's happening. And also, if you have family member in the 4th to 6th grade, or maybe your neighbors have a family, young kid, or whatever it is, we are offering our Spring into STEM program. So if they're going to be here during spring break and they need something to do, we will have camp during that week of March 11th through 15th. They'll be able to run an introductory mission in our simulator. So they'll go up, they'll do the Gus Grissom, they'll go up and then come back in. And then we will have former shuttle astronaut Steve Swanson with us. Same deal as with our summer camps. They will run an activity with him. They'll get pictures and autograph with him during that time. And they will also do a high altitude balloon launch. So they'll send up an experiment on the balloon. It will go up very high and then come back down. That's very exciting as well. And then if you are interested, you just have to go to cosmocamps.org, or you can give us a call. Tammy, raising her back there. Tammy, yep, she helps with, she can answer any and all questions that you have, and then if she can't, then I can answer, or help you get registered or anything like that. We will see about 1,000 campers in this summer from 35-ish states. Over the since 2020, we've hit 40 of the 50 states, and believe it, Alaska and Hawaii are on that list. So it's other 10 states that we need to make our way into. But yeah, just thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your support. We're just really passionate about getting kids in here, getting them excited about STEM. It actually doesn't even need to be STEM, just getting excited to learn and do and find their passions, hopefully. A lot of kids, they meet their people here as well. We had a group of kids that started in like moonshot, and they every single year, there's 5, 6 of them, they went from camp to camp to camp together, and are still friends to this day, which is just really, really nice to hear. We have a bunch of campers who come back and work during the summer. If you know anybody who's 18 or older and they're interested, they can come work. We have a NASA internship that helps pay for while they're here. And so, yeah, we're always looking for people to help out as well. It's a good way to bump up your resume. It's a lot of fun. as well. At least I tell myself that it's a lot of fun when they're here. Yeah. Yeah. So just thank you. Does anybody have any questions before I go? Yep. No, it's unless they give us their information voluntarily, it's really hard to track everybody. I do know every time we go somewhere, somebody always shows up who's a former camper. We have people in SpaceX. I went out we used to go to California for camp pre 2020, and we went to Virgin Galactic, and it was my second year here, so this would have been 19. And one of them wanted to come show us around because they had been a camper with us. We took our kids out to Textron for Martian Base over in Wichita, and a former camper was there. We brought in, there's a firm in Kansas City that was talking about doing filming here, and they knew about us because of a former camper. So we're everywhere. We haven't cracked the astronauts yet, but our campers are all over the place. It's really, we just got a letter this summer that she had just graduated from college with her aerospace engineering degree, and she was thanking us because she'd come to camps all these years, and that's what inspired her to go. So, very proud of everything that they do. Any other questions? Yep. Yeah, so we do about 60 campers in that camp since 2020. So that's what, 60 times 3, 180 or so since we've made that camp. And then they can go on to do Denver. So I was just talking about this earlier. It's really rare. Our day camps are very popular. We get lots. They always sell out every year. I think a part of the problem is once you make that jump from Starship to Mars Academy, it becomes more expensive. We do offer scholarships for students who are struggling to pay, but not we can't give them to everybody, and so I think that's a big barrier. And also, by the time they hit the seventh grade, maybe they're not interested in space anymore. Maybe they want to do something else. But we do most of our kids that go all the way through, they will enter into Mars Academy or Moonshot and go all the way through. Yeah, yeah. So our it's anywhere from $250 for the half day camps, all the way up to 1,000 and something for our biggest camp. And for our oldest camp, that is 6 day, 5 nights. And if you are interested in the astronaut camps, those are already starting to sell out. So the Starship one is already sold out, and the Lunar Trek astronaut camp is already sold out. Yeah, for 2024. Yep. Yeah, we open our camps in August. Camp signups in August, and then go all the way through. So we're starting to sell out already, which is very promising. Yes, Mary. And they do the same. We try not to be as hard as on them as the kids. We don't have them crawling around on the floor unless they want to. Or doing the training sims. We have some people who are very enthusiastic about the training sims, and they have people like me who would just throw up all over the place. And I've never been in one of our training sims since I've been here. Yep. Oh yeah, we do. Thank you. We do partner with Road Scholar, and we offer grandparent, grandchild camps. And so they come here together. They stay at a hotel, not at the dorms, but hotels included, foods included, and they run through the camp program together. And that's a lot of fun as well. They run a mission. We take them to Stratica. They do flights as well. Yeah, we offer 3 of those. Yeah, so this is not something we do. If you want to find out more about Road Scholar, it is ROAD and then Scholar. They offer different experiences for retirees and stuff like that. And one of the experiences they offer are grandparent grandchild camps that they can do together. We offer, I think, 1 in June and 2 in July, and they come here together and they do everything together. Again, we're a little easier on the grandparents and the grandkids that can choose to participate or not. But they go through the training sims. They run a mission. They do flights. We give them tours and all. They go through Dr. Goddard's lab, planetarium, all the best things that we have to offer here at camp. I think it's 5 days, 4 nights for that. I think so. Yeah, .org. All right, all great stuff. Any other questions? All right. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Yes, thank you. If you would like to talk to me, my crew is back here as well. You can talk to any of them as well if you have any questions. They're on the ground while I do more of the background stuff. But we'd be happy to talk to you. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming. Make sure you grab some food. We have plenty, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.